Welcome to Masterclass Wrestling with Class. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Today's guest, Royce Adams. Produced by Victoire. Masterclass is sponsored by Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market, serving California since 1972. Football, baseball, golf, whatever your sport of choice, whenever you visit Palm Springs in the Coachella Valley, visit Legends and Icons, your #1 choice for sports bars. A tattoo is for life, and so ensure that you are getting the very best tattoo artist in the business. Trusted tattoo company and mobile body art bus. Palm Springs, California, Indian Wells, California, Rancho Mirage, California. They are all considered a destination hotspot, a second home haven. With an exquisite record of negotiating the finest deals for clients, Lowell Folsom III and Associates always deliver. Contact Lowell today at 760-391-2504. And now, on with the show. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Victoire. Before we begin today, I ask that you kindly subscribe to the channel. Today's guest is a second-generation wrestler, and as he has stated himself, he has some big shoes to fill. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the son of WWE and WCW superstar Crush. This is Royce Crush Adams. Royce, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for inviting me, man. How's it going?
I'm doing very, very well. And you?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Good. You're out there in sunny Florida. We're over here in sunshine and heat California, across the other side of the country. So viewers, I met Royce at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion award ceremony in 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And since then, we've become, friends. And I think that Royce has a tremendous story, and I wanted to share that with you all today. So, Royce, let's take the viewers back in time, if you will, to your childhood and describe to us a little bit about what it was like being the son of such a formidable character in wrestling in the 90s, Crush.
Well, let's see. So when I was a kid, I didn't really think much of it. I just thought it was it was just my dad, like any other dad, really. He was just hardworking man, doing a job and stuff. Especially when I was just a little toddler, I didn't really like understand much of things going on. But then the older I get, the more I realize, okay, this is pretty cool actually,
Yeah.
because I would have a lot of friends at school and stuff asking me about my dad. Like, oh my gosh, is your dad gonna be here to pick you up today? And I was like, maybe.
So it was a little bit of a celebrity for you, even at a young age.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. But what was it like? So with your dad being able to take time off, did he get to spend a lot of time with you during that time?
Oh yeah, there were times. So back when he was still wrestling, you would still be able to make time to spend with us and the family. Like I remember he would have like cookouts and stuff. We'd go out to places and stuff. And I think this was back when he was in WCW when they were more lenient with the schedules. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so we would spend time, but then he would have to go away for for a little bit, but then come back like I can't remember how long, but it's been like at least maybe a week or two. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you got to have that. Now, while he was wrestling, did you have any other interests as a young boy, or were you already fixated on pro wrestling as a potential career?
when I was a kid, I always, you know, like you were saying, I always did want to be a wrestler, but at some point there were a couple other things I wanted to do. Like maybe at one point I wanted to be an exterminator. I always liked the idea of killing bugs and stuff. Yeah, I hate bugs so much even now.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, what else was there? Uh, there was that, and I think massage therapy was another thing, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And what about your mom? Was your mom was she a stay-at-home mom or was she working while your dad was working?
She would I honestly don't remember if she was mostly stay at home, but she eventually got involved in the medical field. In fact, as of to these days, she's a nurse at the local hospital. Believe it or not.
Okay, all right. And
Yeah.
so was she very supportive of you and your decision when you decided? Champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Styling, Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show. You and your decision when you decided eventually to get into pro wrestling?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So good experiences with your dad then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about brothers and sisters? Are you only child?
Oh no, I have a brother and an older half sister.
Okay. They have any involvement in the pro wrestling world?
No, they don't. Yeah,
None at
no,
all?
my brother is more involved. He's in school right now to be in the medical field himself. Like I kind of forgot exactly what he's trying to go for, but right now he's doing some studying right now.
Yeah.
And my half sister, well, she's she's involved in the medical field as well. I think she became some kind of secretary. So I don't know too much about it. I just know that
Yeah.
you know, she's got her own business too. So yeah.
Yeah. And are you the oldest, youngest, middle child?
Uh, Technically, I'm the middle child because, well, depends. Because thanks to my half sister, I guess I am the middle child. But for a long time, I thought I was the older child or the older son. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us then a little bit. So you're going through school, going through high school. You may have some other interests there, but now in high school, were you going to become a pro wrestler? Or again, like I was saying, were you leaning more towards these other career choices at that time?
Well, during high school, I was I was kind of fixated on pro wrestling, but
Mm-hmm.
then while in high school, I was sort of interested in some other things too. I remember when I graduated high school, I went to attend college, a local community college, so I could get like an associate's degree.
Hmm.
You know, because I believe it or not, I actually did have an interest in computer science.
Okay.
I kind of want to be a game designer at one point because
Okay.
you know, but eventually I decided this wasn't what I wanted to be, so I decided to go for wrestling, you know.
Yeah. Now you say that. So you've got a bit of a creative nature. Is that what you're saying? To design video games? Are you an artist? Do you do art or anything like that?
I don't know about being an artist. I just got like these ideas and stuff
Yeah.
that could be creative, you know. Just I just imagine things and I try to see if I could format it, you know,
Yeah.
but midway through the schooling and stuff, you know, personal things kind of got in the way and the
Mhm.
fact that I ultimately decided, you know what, I want to be a wrestler, I might as well go for it, you know. So
Yeah.
I kind of put some of the educational stuff on hold, you know,
Yeah.
and decided to pursue wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of maybe some of those relationships that your dad had cultivated,
Mhm.
are you able to do you contact some of his friends that he worked with in wrestling to ask them to help you along your journey?
Well, the thing about that is there are some guys that it's like I may be able to get in contact with. Not many, just like maybe one or two at the most,
Hmm.
but they're usually occupied with their own lives and stuff. Like I know some guys that some of my dad's friends are like retired stuff, you know, retired wrestlers themselves, and they got their own personal cases and stuff, and I do reach out every once in a while just for a little bit of advice, and you know
Yeah.
they just you know just they just tell me to you know keep doing what I'm doing, you know, just keep working in the ring and you know to improve my skill, and that's pretty much it to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you told me at the CAC you began your training in earnest, what, about 8 years ago? something like that, 7, 8 years, 7, 8 years ago, or am I incorrect?
More it was like more like 7 years. Yeah, yeah, around 7 years ago.
Okay,
I
7 years
remember.
ago.
I remember. Sorry, I'm low.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, I started training in like I think February or March of 2017,
Okay.
and I didn't wrestle until a year later when I was better trained.
Yeah. And where did you go to start training?
So the first place I went to start was this one school owned by a referee named Frankie Reyes.
Okay.
He's kind of a well-known referee, old timer kind of guy. So he taught me some of the old school stuff. But but then his school kind of shut down after like what, like a few months or so.
Hmm.
And so I later my stepdad, who was also a former wrestler, he was able to get a hold of Jay Lethal. You know who that is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
AEW.
he was able to get a hold of him, and I've been training with him for about, I would say, God, my voice is horrible. So I would say I've been training with him for about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a great trainer too. Like I learned a lot from that guy.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Jay Lethal, he's one of the greats. He was in TNA and now he's in AEW. So you start your training in earnest, and now at this point, you said you stopped your education. Were you working alongside to support your training endeavors?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course I was.
Okay,
No, trust me. I think the thing about that was I had so many things on my plate. I was trained for wrestling, I did a little bit of schooling, and I was working at the same time.
okay,
Like
yeah,
I, plus I help out my folks a lot too with their time of need too. So I
hmm,
try to balance all that on my plate, but ultimately it just didn't go through. And in fact, now that you mentioned about education, so when COVID happened, I actually did take a break from wrestling because it was a really dark time. I didn't even know if wrestling would ever be the same because you know how crazy it
yeah,
was at the time. So I put wrestling almost on an indefinite hold and decided to go pursue a career in massage therapy. Actually,
yeah,
I went to school to practice it and I passed the classes, but I was never able to pass the licensing exam because it would literally be like 100 out of over 1,000 different questions. And I did study hard for that stuff. I took in the MBLEX it's called. I took in that at least five, maybe 6 times
hmm,
overall, and I was still never able to pass it. So I
yeah.
said, I just took it as a sign saying maybe it just means I'm meant for something else. So
Well, that's a good positive way of looking at things. Maybe God has a design for you to follow in your dad's footsteps. Obviously, it would be well received to see the son of Crush back on television. I know certainly your dad made an impression on, well, our generation. He was big. I'm a little bit, older than you, but yeah, we could definitely use with another Crush in professional wrestling. And speaking of that. Um, Obviously, you've decided to bring back your dad's ring attire when you wrestle, and I did want to ask you, did you have them resized, or is that the actual size?
that was the actual size. Honest to God.
Wow, wow, because they fit you perfectly.
I know it's so crazy too, because shortly after I was telling my folks about this, I decided just for funsies to go to my dad's old stuff. I still have like a container of his old stuff, obviously,
Yeah,
and I found one of his singlets. I put it on, and I'm like, holy crap, it fits me perfectly.
yeah, yeah,
I honestly thought I was just gonna sag everywhere,
yeah,
especially around like the stomach area.
yeah.
Hang on a second. I,
Yeah.
I kind of blacked out for a second. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, a little thing came up. Anyways, yeah, so I put it on. I go show off to my folks, and they were all like, "Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah, yeah,
it fits," I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
yeah. It fits. It's unbelievable because I always thought your dad was because I've met you in person. We're probably what we 6'3". You're about the same height as me. Six.
I would
uh,
say so. Yeah,
So, but was your dad? I remember he was not. Wasn't he not taller? Wasn't he like 6'8"?
he was much taller. Yeah, no, he was at least 6'6", if not a little taller than that.
Yeah.
And I think what it was is he was more wider than he was taller.
Yeah.
So he was definitely a lot more obvious, a lot more bulkier.
Yeah.
But for height, though, I mean, yeah, he was like what 5 inches taller than us, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just he was just jacked to the gills what he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, he was. Now, speaking of Jack to the Gills, is that something that you want to try and incorporate to you? Are you big into bodybuilding, weightlifting, or to you, are you more interested in the professional wrestling side of things, more just conditioning?
I think I'm more like as much as I admire the whole bodybuilding aspects of it, I kind of feel I would lean more towards the wrestling aspects. I mean, don't get me wrong, I work out, of course, but I'm not, and I do, and I would like to bulk up more, of course,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, all that bulkiness, as much as important it is to have all that bulk, it kind of sort it it's really more about technique more so than size. I mean, size is great, but
Yeah.
it's not everything. I mean, I've seen like examples throughout the years of what happens when you send a guy that's all posing and so
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of learned from watching stuff like William Regal stuff.
Hmm.
He's a phenomenal wrestler. He's not obviously not a bodybuilder type, but he is very skilled in the ring. There's
Yeah.
guys like him, Gunther, who's wrestling right now. He's very phenomenal. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I like to look at those guys for examples and stuff. Even guys like the Undertaker, who is like one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He's tall and he's muscular, but he's not like Brock Lesnar muscular.
Right, right. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because obviously in the latter part of your dad's career, he really took the bodybuilding to the hilt when he was in Chronic. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
he and Brian Clark. Speaking of Brian Clark, have you reached out to Brian, Adam Baum?
Yeah, yeah, we've actually reached out to each other recently.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, yeah, we were talking to this guy who like wanted to make some toys and stuff out of my dad and along the way he gave him my number and he reached out and we just chatted for a little bit. He was like asking, "Hey, how you been, man?" and
Yeah.
just telling him I'm doing good. So yeah, we're connected and
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's good, man. Yeah, I was going to say you got probably the opportunity to meet some of your heroes through your dad, even as a kid, even if you maybe don't remember it. But you mentioned the Undertaker there. So have you met the Undertaker in person?
I have met him a few times before. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that must be pretty cool. We haven't had him as a guest on the show yet, but we hope to at some point in the future. What was he like to you in person?
He's very kind.
Yeah.
Very very nice dude. Of course, because as a kid, I'm sure they all have to be nice. But for him though, yeah, he was. Yeah, like I said, he was a very nice dude. Even the last time I met him was actually just earlier this year when he was in Clearwater doing the Undertaker show. I got to meet him backstage and stuff, and he
Yeah.
was very happy to meet me, of course. And yeah. What's
Yeah.
funny too is when I was a kid, I was scared of him though because for starters, he was tall,
Yeah.
super tall, just
Yeah.
taller than my dad. He had tattoos all over his arms, like sleeves. And three, he always had that angry look on his face. Like even
Yeah.
his smile, he's always like, "Hey man, hey, how you doing, man?" I'm like,
Yeah. Back up a little bit.
"Yeah, freaking baby me didn't know how to handle that stuff."
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny.
I didn't
So
even.
now, what's up?
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I didn't even know he was a wrestler until I saw him in a game. I just thought he was just one of my dad's very tough looking friends or something.
Yeah, as he was in a game. So now you mentioned so obviously after your dad's passing, were the WWE involved? Did they help your family after the passing at all?
Honestly, I don't know much because I was too young to like understand all that at the time. But I would like to think they did have a hand in in helping us out for a little bit. I
Mhm.
think I don't know too much details, but I do know that I think for example, the Undertaker, he was well, I call him Uncle Mark. He was a very good friend of my dad. I think for a while he did help us out for a little bit afterwards, just to make sure we get back on our feet because it was a very devastating time for us. And then once we're all settled, we pretty much went our separate ways and stuff.
Yeah.
And apart from occasionally seeing him, that's usually about it.
Yeah. And now you mentioned earlier about your stepdad also being a former wrestler. So what was his character? Who was he in the business?
His wrestling name was Buck Quartermain. He wrestled a lot in the indies, and he also wrestled in the mainstream for a little bit.
Okay.
Not too much like the main guys, but like you'll find some of his matches on there.
Okay.
I know one of them was a handicap match between him and a buddy of his working Big Show.
Okay. All right. We'll have to check that out. Viewers, remember that name.
Mhm.
And now you are in Florida, Royce.
Yes.
So you are, I believe that is where the not NXT, the Performance Center, WWE Performance Center is located.
Yes.
So what are your plans, your intermediate plans to get yourself into a position where you can go to the Performance Center and at least get a tryout in WWE?
Well, my plans right now is to put it simply, just keep on wrestling in the indies until the guys behind the PC or the performance center, take notice and just basically just hope for the best. I'm literally just crossing my fingers the whole time. I While we're in Vegas, I did meet some guys. Like I don't know if you know this guy. His name is Dan Magnus and stuff.
And
Dan Magnus.
I didn't meet him in oh no, are you talking about Dan the Axe?
No, that's Dax the Axe.
Dax the
That's
Axe.
different.
Okay.
That's a different guy.
Yeah.
No, see, so I met a couple of guys in in Vegas, and you know, that's they say they'll be able to like help me out along the road and stuff. Just pointers and stuff. This and that.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy. Just advice really. That hopefully will take me one step further into the game.
Yeah.
Don't want to speak too much of this because I don't want to like
You know.
either overshadow or jinx myself in this.
Right. Right.
But
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm always open to anyone's advice at this point. Just a little tidbit information is all I need. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what about your character as itself? Because obviously, if you look at your dad's character, he was, the Demolisher. He was Crush. He was a powerhouse, and they repackaged him as Kona Crush. He came back. He handled that quite well. Have you given any thought to any potential character for yourself? How you would portray yourself?
Well, so the funny thing is, I did like try to create another character for myself. So it's like this right now, and for the most part, I do wrestle as Royce Crush Adams.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, for the most part, Crush, a lot of the guys that I work under or the promotions that I go to, they always like to add the Crush part because, why not, right? It's good for good publicity. But at the same time, though, I kind of want to create my own character a little,
Right.
not too far off, but like, you know, something that's kind of like me, right?
Yeah.
I actually had some new gear made, and I was going under a new name too. I started wrestling a little bit as Ikari. It's a Japanese word that means anger or rage, or I
Okay.
guess even it also could mean wrath too. So but the gear itself though, unfortunately the gear is kind of, let's just say it needs some repairs right now because unlike the gear that my dad wore, like, or at least some of it, the gear that I had made for me, kind of, yeah, it's unfortunately a lesser quality. So
Mm.
it needs some repairs, some mending and stuff. I might have to reach out to the guy that made it soon. But
Yeah.
for the moment, for right now, I'm just wrestling as Royce Crush Adams, wearing the same
But it,
gears.
but Akari, that sounds very, very cool
Yeah.
because, I mean, in a sense, you are giving homage to your dad because, Axe, Smash, Crush, Demolition, and then you've got Akari, which means rage. I mean, you're following that line, but you're making it something original and unique.
Mhm.
Now, you mentioned there in Japan. So have you got an influence from Japan? Do you love Japan, and is that an influence of yours?
Well, I mean, I am part Japanese after all,
Right,
so the influence does come from my heritage, more or
right,
less.
right.
And I figured I may as well have a sort of homage to both, my dad's wrestling legacy and my heritage, and
Yeah,
I figured why not,
yeah.
It's I feel like it's still developing as we're going with this though.
Mhm,
So it's like we're kind of like slowly mapping it out. It's almost like we're branching different ideas. It's
mhm. Hmm.
just yeah, it's just how it is. It's always weird with creativity, you know. Sometimes you have this idea, but then you have another idea that kind of overlaps that idea, and it's
Yeah.
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 Sometimes it gets a little muddy when you're trying to put it on form,
Yeah.
but it's getting there. The pieces are there though, so
Yeah. But the good part is that you're paying attention to that and putting that effort into it at this juncture in your career. So when you
mhm.
do get to the big time, when you get to the big dance, you can come in and present some very viable ideas. And especially if you've already got footage on camera, you've got your promos, you've got your gear, you've got everything dialed in. It'll be all that more, more effective when you get in front of those that make the final decisions. So right now you are performing. Let the viewers know what is the company you're performing for in Florida?
Right now it is WWN Proving Grounds. The shows, so they're located in Port Richey. You can always look up the address on Facebook, and yeah, yeah, they put all their stuff on Facebook usually, and I think they'll also put their stuff on YouTube as well.
Okay.
So they happen. It happens every Friday, and the matches too. They get posted on sometime later. I think we're only like what 2, 3 matches behind from the posting.
Mm,
So
okay.
yeah, some of the stuff is you know
Yeah.
current enough.
Okay. Now I will give a shout out to the gentleman that I met you with, Al. I forget his ring name. Cole.
I think it's like Al Van Pleet. I think that's his name.
Okay. Yeah. So how's he helping you? Because at the time it appeared like he was, acting in a managerial capacity for you. So how did you two meet?
Uh, so we met actually. I think we've seen each other before in these meetings. So here in Florida, or specifically in Tampa, we have this event called a wrestling's Legends Luncheon. It's
Okay.
where it's where it's where a bunch of old time wrestlers and both old and new alike kind of meet up in a place. It's hosted by Brian Blair, actually, the same guy that's the president of the CAC.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that hosts these things. We have them at a bar, an Irish bar, I think it's called.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think I met him like a couple of times before in these luncheons and stuff.
Mhm.
But we didn't really officially start talking to each other until I saw the post about the Cauliflower Alley clubs. So, and I guess I can give a little background to that. So how that worked was the guy that ran WWN posted the CAC event on the group chat,
Mhm.
asking who wants to get involved. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I want
Yeah.
to get involved.
Yeah.
And then he put me in connection with him, and then we started talking, and the rest is history. That's how I pretty much got into to Vegas and got to meet him.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly a remarkable event. Have you done many events like this, or was this one of your first?
We talking about wrestling events or like what do you mean?
Yeah, like wrestling events, like what we did with the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Oh, well, I mean, I've wrestled a lot before, but I never been to like this big time event before. No, I think this
Okay.
would be the first time I've done this big series of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was something else, something very, very special. So who else who have been some of the guys other than your dad that you would say really inspired you in pro wrestling?
Oh, let's see. I would say Eddie Guerrero was one of them. I
Mhm.
always loved his charismatic flair. Undertaker is another one too. When I was a kid, I always wanted to, well, be like Big Show too, actually,
Mhm.
because he's all, big, intimidating. But then I realized I had to grow as tall as him, and unfortunately, I'm just almost a foot shorter than him. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll just skip that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. I feel like there's a couple other guys too. I'm trying to remember. Uh, but for the most part, it's those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the Big Show, Undertaker, your dad. I'm trying to think the other guy that was we mentioned him at the CAC. He played the character Chains in the gang with your dad.
Brian Lee.
Brian Lee. Brian Lee. He would have been another one that would have fit into that elk. And then of course Axe and Smash. Did you ever get the chance to meet Axe and Smash?
I don't think I have. No, I don't think I ever met them.
Okay.
No.
Now, going back to your dad's career, obviously you've had the chance now as an adult to go back and look at his matches and everything else. What was the highlight for you of your dad's career? Match, gimmick, what was your favorite time that you saw your dad?
Well, I remember when I first saw him, he was in WCW wrestling as Brian Adams, with the NWO and then eventually Chronic. So
Hmm.
I would always say that those were the highlights of his career, through my eyes, his
Yeah,
career.
yeah,
Like I remember seeing him like just picking guys up over his head, gorilla pressing them, throwing them aside, and all that stuff.
yeah.
And I even remember when I would show videos of that stuff in class, and kids are just being, "Oh my God, he's so strong!" And I'm just sitting there laughing. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, your dad was one of the strongest. I did fortunately get to see your dad live many, many moons ago. So I did see him against, I think he was actually facing against Smash, the Repo Man.
oh, was this back in like SummerSlam?
Yeah, SummerSlam 92. Yeah.
You were there for that?
Yeah, I was there for that. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
hell
there.
yeah!"
So I was there for SummerSlam. That was because we didn't get many events in the UK. We had one night only in 1997 where Shawn Michaels I think he beat the British Bulldog that night. So I was there. I was when DX was they just formed at that time.
Really?
So yeah, the Undertaker was there that night. I think the opening bout was Mick Foley against Triple H at that event. But yeah, and then I was at SummerSlam 92. What an event that was. Looking at AEW's All In at Wembley Stadium, it just brought back memories of, I mean, it was like I tell you, you say phenomenal. The energy was, I mean, it went through the roof. There was no roof on the stadium, but it was epic that night when we were going in to Wembley Stadium. I mean, you're talking 83,000 people were jam packed in that stadium. And I remember walking up there with my parents and my sister and my mom's friend. And yeah, it was just kids all over the place, dressed as the Ultimate Warrior, dressed as the Macho Man and the British Bulldog. That was the golden era, man. So
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah. Do you have any of your dad's gear from that time when he was Kona Crush, the neon?
Yeah, I think I do actually. I think I may have like one of his shorts. I think
Yeah.
it's like a pair of purple shorts with the word "crush" on the side of it.
Yes.
Uh, I think that's the only thing. I mean, I may have some more, but I really have to dig in through the box though, because I literally have a box of it like kind of like in my possession. But the thing
Yeah.
is though, it's not just gear; it's like memorabilia, like his
Yeah.
toys, uh, yeah, pretty much gear and toys and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also have his mask too, the demolition mask.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's definitely something to yeah, because that's how he first started when he came in. And I even remember those days. The Hasbro figures, they brought out Crush in the Hasbro. Something about those Hasbro figures. I think, in my estimation, they were the greatest action figure series of all time. But probably I'm just biased because I was younger at the time. So
Oh yeah, no.
yeah. What about that for you? Have you so aside from wanting to be in the business, have you collected items like as a fan, when you're your younger years? Were you a fan, an avid fan, a collector?
Well, when it comes to stuff like that, I always like to play with the toys. I didn't collect them. As soon as I got them, I just opened up the box and just play with them and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was too. Like me and my friends will always bring our wrestling toys in the house and
Yeah.
just have like just a brawl for all with the toys and stuff. That's pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember too. I think there was like maybe a wrestling card or two in there, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. You got some kids collect them, some kids just throw them around and scratch them up. It just depends who you are. Um, but so now going back a little bit to your character development there with this new character that you've developed here. Did you have any help with that, or was this something that you came up with yourself?
Pretty much came up with it myself. It's still like I said, like a character in development, trying to like try something new and stuff. Like for example, too, I usually wrestle as a face for the
Mhm.
most part, but when I developed this character, I wanted to make him more heelish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because I just want to represent like rage and anger and more aggression. Although ironically enough, according to a lot of my peers, they say I need to work on my aggression too. You know,
Mhm.
like it's so tricky trying to like add the aggression to when I have so much on my mind and stuff. You know, when you're so focused and occupied. But
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm still working on that. But right
Yeah.
now, it's still like coming together. You know. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned having a lot on your mind. So have you got right now, are you working a full time with a quote unquote career job, or what are you doing right now to support yourself?
Right now, like I work at a local grocery store over here. You ever heard of Publix?
Yes, yes, yes. I have. They're over there on the East Coast, more to the East
Yeah,
Coast.
yeah.
Yeah.
I work at the one close to where I live.
Okay.
Yeah, I work there and stuff, and I also help out. Like I said, help out my folks too with stuff. Like my stepdad, like he used to wrestle, but nowadays he works with pool stuff. Right, I
Hmm.
help him out with that too. You know, with like pool constructing or just going out to just put chemicals in the pool and simple stuff, clean up the
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's keeping you outside, getting you some sunshine, keeping you physically active, which is much needed in professional wrestling.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, like you said, I mean, you have to keep yourself in a position where when that moment calls, you can go. You can't be trapped in a career job. That's why I asked, it's very difficult if you've got a career job to be able to do what you're doing. It's that little sacrifice that you have to make in
Well, I
order.
mean, it's mostly part time though. You know, I work some decent hours, but for the most part, it's part time. You know, and you know, it's just it's enough to help me out. And like I said, my folks help me out too with stuff. Like I pretty much kind of like live with them too, so they're able to help me out with needs and stuff. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good stuff, man. You've got a great support system. Now, what about in terms of when you're out in public and when you go to events? Do people naturally come up to you and say, "Hey, you remind me of somebody"? Because you,
Uh, Not right away,
no,
but once they realize, kind of, yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of funny too, because I go into a locker room and change. So I would say I would introduce myself to these guys like a new guy. I'd be like, hey, how's it going? I'm Royce. Nice to meet you. And say while we're changing, someone comes up to me and realizes that I'm a second gen. He'll bring it up, and everyone will be all like, wait, you're who's your dad? And
yeah,
I'll be like, Crush.
yeah,
Oh wait, that's your dad?
yeah,
Oh, why did you tell me? I'm
yeah.
like, well, I mean, to be fair, you never asked, and
Right.
I'm also I just don't go around bragging about it like that.
No,
You know, I'm very humble. You know, like
yeah,
I try not to be arrogant or egotistical and stuff. I mean, I'm proud. I am
yeah,
very proud of who my dad was, but I'm not gonna go and parade it
right.
like it's something to do. You know, I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
No, but that's a good thing. I mean, the fact that you already have that, puts you, in some cases, head and shoulders above your competition because there are a lot of people. Wrestling is filled with egos. We both know that. So to come from a humble perspective, like you are, is a very refreshing way of presenting yourself, and I think it will be well received as you go up and up the ranks. One thing I did think for you, I mean, I can't help but brainstorm, even though we are on a podcast,
Go
but
ahead.
you mentioned that you couldn't, being aggressive doesn't come as second nature to you. And I think that's fine, but you can still be a quiet angry. You could still be a quiet rage.
Mm.
And in some circumstances, that may come across even more creative, a better storytelling effect. So maybe try that as to be don't try and show it so much, just be it, if that makes sense to you.
I always like the idea of being the calm before the storm kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's like I'm always like, you know, action speaks louder than words kind of thing. So
Mm.
I like that idea. But a lot of the guys that tell me this are like either the promoters or guys that are like the second in command. They're usually the ones that are telling me this. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of have to. I wouldn't say I have to listen to them, but it's always nice to try and input their advice and stuff because they have a point, you know. So
Yeah.
because I mean, when you're in the ring, don't get me wrong. I know how to handle myself in the ring, but at the same time, it's like you sometimes forget you're in the ring, or shit. Did I put that right? What I'm trying to say is you get a lot on your mind sometimes, and it can cause you to freeze up a little or something. It's just kind of like almost like stage fright, but different. It's yeah.
Yeah. And now you and I talked a little bit in person about your actual goals in terms of where you would like to work, where you would like your career to land. So tell us, is it Japan? Is it AEW, TNA, or is it WWE?
Ideally WWE. I've always because when I was a kid, that I've always dreamed of one day being one of the wrestlers.
Mm,
Even to this day. But I am open to other ideas and stuff and opportunities. Like
mhm.
AEW is kind of like the modern day WCW.
Yeah.
Uh, Japan, their style is different, and I know the folks over there will probably be more focused to
Mhm.
the technical style of wrestling than how it is here in America. So yeah.
Yeah. And what about any extracurricular activities? Because we know that was it your dad? He did martial arts or kickboxing, one of the two, right? Yeah.
Well, he just loved martial arts in general.
Yeah.
In fact, my dad actually wanted to do boxing in life, if I remember correctly. Right. So according to my folks, they said that when he joined the military, he tried to get into boxing, but that's how he got spotted by a local promoter. I think it was this was in Japan, and I think this I remember now. It was Antonio Inoki.
Okay.
He was the one that I think spotted my dad and told him that he would look like he would be an amazing wrestler, and that's how he actually got started into it.
Okay. But yeah, he was that's right. You told me he was a big martial arts fan and you would guys would watch the action movies from back in the day and your dad loved that. Because your dad actually did a
Oh,
few
yeah.
he did a few kicks, I remember in the ring. He used to do the spinning kick sometimes to the gut and things like that. Now, what about you? Have you ventured into any martial arts?
Actually, I have. When I was a kid, my dad got me signed on to practice Taekwondo, the Korean martial art of kicking.
Okay.
Yeah. And uh, and yeah, and I actually did that. I was doing pretty well in that, but then, unfortunately, when my dad passed, I kind of like, it was in a state of depression and just lost you know, the motivation to do that.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons I did was because my dad would always be proud of seeing me perform and practicing the art of martial arts. And when he passed, it's like,
Yeah.
it was just very hard to do afterwards.
Yeah.
So I may no longer do or practice Taekwondo, but I still remember the style of it. Like I still remember how it was taught, and I could even. What's funny too is they don't just teach you how to fight; they also teach you how to count in the language too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. In in Japanese, right?
No, Korean.
Korean. So, but now are you bilingual? Do you speak Japanese?
I won't say I speak it, but I do understand some of it,
Okay.
and may occasionally speak like just very little. So
Okay.
maybe just a tiny bit, but nothing much else.
Now it is your heritage. Have you visited Japan? Do you go to Japan?
I have once, yeah.
Okay. How did you like it?
I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
I actually have folks that live there, so
Okay.
they were able to show me around some really cool places while I was there.
Oh, that's really nice, brother. And then in terms of any other pastimes that you have now, because obviously wrestling is very, very time consuming, as it should be, anyone who's taking it seriously. But are there any other pastimes you have now, things that you enjoy to do to relax while you're training, while you're out there in Florida?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes I like to stay at home and just watch a little bit of TV, play on my games because I'm a bit of a gaming nerd. So
Yeah.
there's that, and sometimes I just like to go out and go places at home. Sometimes I like to go to this local area
Yeah.
close by and just chill out for the time.
Yeah.
But when I'm not doing that, I sometimes go work out or go to the gym because gotta stay in good shape and get stronger too.
Yeah. Now you seem like I said, you're humble guy, very relaxed. Is that part of your family? I mean, is your brother and sister, your mom? I mean, was your dad in his off time? Was he very calm like you?
Uh, if I remember correctly, yeah, he would be a calm guy. You know, he was laid back is the word we would use. You know, he was very laid back.
Hmm.
You know, very kind too. Like literally, like I would. So my stepdad, I would say he knew him very well, but he kind of knew about him,
Hmm.
and he would tell me almost not a single person would have anything bad to say about him. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really wonderful then. So would you say that no, your family unit as itself, you guys are a
Oh,
very tight family?
oh, absolutely.
No,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
good.
we're kind of different though in a way too. Like I'm more calm and stuff. My brother, he's also calm, but he's a lot more intellectual. Like he's like very perceptive on things.
Mm.
He'll be able to like describe things from a different perspective. He's very smart, so
Okay.
I would definitely give him that.
Yeah.
Uh, and as for some other folks, like say from Hawaii, because that's where I kind of come from.
Yeah.
Uh, they're very proud. That's all I can say. They're nice, but they're also very proud. Like they have like a lot of family pride. Like, oh, my son, my cousin can do this. He's great at this. You know, I bet you do this, brother. And I'm like, chill, Uncle Mookie, please. No, no, sit down. I got this one right here. I'm like, oh, sweet. Oh, they're great people, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind. But
Now you mentioned Hawaii there. We would be remiss if we didn't mention because we both met her at the CAC. Ata, the Rock's mom. We
oh
both met
yeah,
her there at CAC. Now you've got your lineage in Hawaii too. Have the families ever crossed paths? Your family and their family, the Rock's family?
I'm honestly not too sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I could ask my mom that later on and see if it is possible because in my honest opinion, I think that's the first time I've ever met what was her name? Ata
Ata Johnson.
yeah. Mavia, right? Mavia
Maivia, yeah,
Johnson.
Maivia
That's
Johnson.
right. I would think that was my first time ever meeting her in person because if I met her as a kid, I surely don't remember at all.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. It was, like I said, we met so many people on that 3 day event. It was very fantastic. Did it inspire you all the more?
Oh, absolutely. I got
Yeah.
to meet guys I remember seeing when I was a kid. Like, let's see. Well, there was Sting, Kurt Angle, Buff Bagwell.
Mm.
Very nice dude, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember too. Like when I got up to say hi to Sting, you know, Buff was all like, hey, before you say anything, look at this guy. I have a question, Steve. Who does he look like? Anyone at all? And Sting was like, "Uh, I don't know." And then he tells him he's Crush's son, Brian Adams' son. He's like, oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Buff was he's as exciting. He's like as energetic as I remember when I was a kid. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
never skip a beat. That guy is cool as hell.
Yeah, no, he's a very, we've had him as a guest on here. So we've had an
Mm-hmm.
interview with Buff on here, and he was very nice to me. He was nice with everybody at that event. And like you said, full of energy. He's found a new life now, new lease on life. He's been sober for 2 years, found his faith in Jesus Christ. He's a changed man, and it's always beautiful to witness stories like that, when these individuals can turn their life around and they finally accept the help that's there for all of us to receive if we choose. And yeah, it was just a wonderful experience to be had. So, but for right now, is there anything else in particular that you would like to share with the audience? Anything you've got coming up in particular? Any charities that you may want to give a shout out to? Anything at all? I'll give the platform to you right now.
Well, I can't say there's much I can say right now. Like, let's say I may be talking to someone who may be able to help me get into uh the WWE. Maybe not through like the main company, but through like NXT. I
Mm,
am talking to someone right now. It's like one of those I know a guy who knows a guy kind of deal, you know?
Okay.
So I kind of did mention his name earlier, although
Mhm.
I try not to mention too many names
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I don't want to expose them and all that, you know.
No.
But just say there's currently some talks going on where I might be able to get involved with the company soon. It's
Yeah.
still in the wraps. I have to like get back to him soon, but maybe hopefully within a year
Mhm.
I might be possibly involved with the business. I don't want to jinx nothing
I
here
know.
though.
No. Yeah,
But as
yeah.
far as I'm concerned, y'all I'm still with WWN and sometimes some other promotions whenever they advertise, and
Yeah.
that's all I got right now. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Well, we'll definitely pull up some links of some of your matches, and I'll put them in the description of the video. One last
Yeah, yeah.
question. One
What's
last
up?
question. One last question. I always ask this to individuals. Admittedly, I ask it typically to some of the guys that are a little bit more mature than we are. But nonetheless, you've lived quite a bit already, even though you're a pretty young guy. In your opinion, Royce, what to you is the meaning of life? It's the
Meaning
question.
of life, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is actually a really good question.
Hmm.
I would say the meaning of life is long and prosperous, but eventful at the same time.
Okay.
Like, I would say live your life how you see fit. Personally, I would try to say live a peaceful and and I wouldn't say subtle, but be a very, like, yeah, peaceful life is what I would say. Live a peaceful and just life,
Hmm.
but at the same time, go for what you think is right, like
Hmm.
do what you think makes you feel better.
Hmm.
Because at the same time, as much as I like to, pursue my life peaceful, I know at the same time it's got its bumps and stuff. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, I'm sorry, I think I got a little lost in translation. Basically, just live long but live eventful.
Yeah. Yeah. So very, very good, very humble and very enlightened way of looking at life at your young age. Well, I tell you what, stay on the line with me right now because I'm just going to say goodbye to the viewers, but stay on the line with me. Royce, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, getting to know a little bit more about your story, being able to share your story a little bit more with our audiences. And we pray God bless that your dreams do come true. And I'm sure you'll be a very important asset to the wrestling community with an attitude that you have like yours. So we want to thank you again. Viewers, until next time, this has been Victoire. I am Emir. This is Royce Crush Adams. Victor what you must victor in your life. We will see you again next time.